Hey everyone, Chris Hobart here, the Wealthologist. Now today, I wanted to tackle one of the hottest financial topics out there, inflation. But let's have a little bit of fun, because we're also going to talk about whether President Trump's policies are making inflation better, worse, or maybe, just maybe, we're watching a little political blame game unfold here. Now, inflation, it's like political kryptonite, right? Nobody in office wants to deal with it, and everyone tries to blame someone else for it. And ever since Trump stepped back into the Oval Office, his critics have really been working hard to pin rising prices specifically on his agenda. Well, here's the question. Does that argument hold up? I'm going to break it down and we'll see what happens. Let's go. First, theory number one, tariffs are making inflation worse. One of the first claims is that Trump's tariffs are going to be driving prices up. Well, I'll be the first to say that tariffs can put upward pressure on specific goods, specifically if we slap higher prices on imports. But here's the thing. Tariffs don't print money. And that is a crucial point. You see, back in Trump's first term, he raised tariffs. And guess what? Well, inflation averaged just 1.9% annually. Now compare that to the nearly 5% inflation we saw during 2021 through 2024. And that's when tariffs weren't the big story. Well, what's the difference? Well, inflation isn't just about what something costs. It's about how much money is floating around in the economy. Now, unless the Federal Reserve starts flooding the market with extra cash again, well, higher prices in one area often mean lower prices somewhere else. So, to blame tariffs for widespread inflation, I don't think that theory necessarily holds water. Now, what about the second theory? Deportations will drive prices up. Some economists argue that a shrinking workforce leads to higher wages and, in turn, inflation. Now, others say immigration boosts both supply and demand, so it's neutral. Here's what we do know. Immigration surged from 2021 through 2024, and inflation still hit multi-decade highs. So, if we can have high inflation and high immigration, is it possible to have low immigration and low inflation? I don't know, but the truth is, labor supply does matter, but it's not the main driver of inflation. And history has shown that immigration policies alone don't dictate whether prices rise or fall. Now, third theory, the DOGE dividend will make everything more expensive. Now, this is where it gets a little wild, right? Trump's floated the idea of using savings from a government spending overhaul, DOGE, to pay a dividend to taxpayers. Now, of course, people are already calling it inflationary. But is it? Even if we play along with the Keynesian argument that government spending affects inflation, here's kind of how it really works. If the government cuts $1 in spending and then sends 20 cents back to taxpayers, the deficit still shrinks by 80 cents. Now, if deficits cause inflation, then DOGE is still reducing inflation, just slightly less than if we kept every dollar for deficit reduction. Now, let's not forget, inflation still depends on the Fed. We've seen high inflation with low deficits, low inflation with high deficits, and quite frankly, everything in between. The real question is always what the Fed does with the money supply. So here's what really matters. The real driver of inflation is the Federal Reserve and money supply. It's not tariffs, it's not immigration, and it's not budget tweaks. A bigger government increases the risk of inflation because it slows private sector growth. DOGE, if it cuts wasteful spending, could actually help curb long-term inflation and not fuel it. Again, that's long-term. Don't believe every theory politicians push. Always follow the money. And I will say, money supply from the Fed is a very important one to follow. Look, inflation, it is absolutely still a problem. In January, prices were up 3% year over year, which is still higher than we'd like. But to blame every policy move on inflation, right now that's just politics. The real question is whether the Fed is going to keep the money supply under control. All right, what do you think? Are tariffs and immigration policies really pushing inflation higher? Or is this just another political narrative? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your take and just share your feedback. And hey, if you found this breakdown helpful, make sure that you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, and also turn on the notifications so you don't miss out on more financial insights. Until next time, I'm Chris Hobart, the Wealthologist, helping you cut through the noise and hopefully helping you build your financial future. See you soon.